Screen Blur.
Hello and welcome to Screen Slurps, the movie review podcast where we discuss the good, the bad, and the savage in the world of cinema. I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlocker.
And this week, we're getting weird. That's right. I said it. We are weird. We're weird people.
Aren't we weird every episode?
Maybe you think that. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. I'm Weird Adam, and we got Weird Laura. And this week, okay, we're super weird. What can I say?
We're always weird, but even more so this week.
This particular episode, we're talking about someone even weirder than us, maybe even weirder than all of humanity.
The weirdest man on the planet.
The weirdest man, weirder than any species we can think of. Weird Al Yankovic.
Woo!
And he has been an idol of mine for my entire life. I mean, especially growing up. But this week, we're talking about his new movie, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story. And did I just say it's brand new? I mean, it's brand new, everybody. And
it did just come out, yeah.
It just came out
on Roku.
And it was a film that's produced by Funny or Die, I believe. Mm-hmm. And boy, does that take me back to high school. I can't even.
Oh my God, words. I know. I used to watch Funny or Die videos all the time. Didn't they make? Oh, I'll have to Google if they made. There was this one series I used to watch, but now I'm thinking it wasn't Funny or Die, so never mind. I'll take it back.
Did I forget to say we were weird? Anyways.
I just have no memory, so that's what's up with me.
So I'm excited to talk about this movie because Weird Al, he's something else.
He holds a special place in your heart.
Yes, and I was ready to start singing Tarzan when you said that, but because Weird Al's in all of our hearts.
On the mind. Phil Collins is not the same as Weird Al.
They're two different musicians.
Very different musicians.
But before we start talking all about Weird Al becoming Phil Collins over a period of time, we're going to talk about our side slurps. And if this is your first time listening, our side slurps are the things we've done other than watching the film of the week. Things like maybe watching other movies, other TV shows. Maybe we've picked up a brand new hobby. Maybe we are working on our own attempt of becoming the next Weird Al Yankovic. You never know. We've got all kinds of parodies going on in our own lives. So, Laura, what have you been doing this past week?
Yeah. Hobby-wise, I have picked up some of my hobbies again. So I've been doing some of my embroidery because I've been making gifts for people for Christmas. And yeah, just kind of being crafty. I made us little things for our D&D campaign, which I thought was a lot of fun. So I'm really trying to actually do things and not be as sad and lazy at night after work. So I've made myself like a craft to-do list that I'm just going to focus on. So I'm looking forward to it.
Can I just say, don't knock yourself too hard, Laura. Listeners, we'll put some pics up of those D&D things that she put together.
No, they're cute. I like them a lot.
Because they're adorable, and you should all want some D&D campaign pieces for when you're playing your own campaigns, because she's got one that looks like a little doodle bat that everyone needs on their campaign table.
I can't take credit. I did not draw the doodle bat originally. One of the other players in our campaign, it's like something that her character created, and we like made him up during our last session, and she like drew him up really quickly, and I took a picture of it and then just like traced her picture so I could make it on my Cricut. But he is so cute. His name is Oswald. He's this little like wonky mechanical bat. I love him.
And then I've got a little piece for when I give people
bardic inspiration,
because I'm like a little rabbit Herringon bard who
is a wild campaign.
Also kind of like his own Kenny G. So
yes, he plays the saxophone. But yeah, so I've been definitely getting back into some of my hobbies, which has been really good for me. I also was on like a TV show kick, and I finally caught up on a lot of shows that I've been behind on. So I caught up on Archer, and Bob's Burgers. So both having what's his name? H. John Benjamin? Is that it?
I think it's
Something.
Yeah.
Something, whatever his name is, he's in both of those. He's Archer and he's Bob. I caught up on both. I also caught up on What We Do in the Shadows, which I love that show. It is so good. So good.
Yeah,
And
you had it right.
H. John Benjamin. Woo! Look at me. My memory. I also am in the middle of Midnight Mass. I am very late to the game, but finally getting around to watching that. And then what else? I just got a new game on our Switch because I was wanting to play something else. I still play Genshin and Dreamlight Valley, but I wanted something that would actually have like a plot and like a focus too. So I got Potion Permit, which is very much like Stardew Valley. But you are like an alchemist, kind of. You make potions to heal people. It's very fun. It's very cozy. You run around. You have to like scavenge ingredients and kill things, like, you know, battle creatures and make these potions. It's a lot of fun.
Laura, of all people, would definitely need a permit to be making potions. Anytime
I don't need
see
a
her in the
permit.
kitchen,
What are you talking about?
concocting chemicals here in our
I'm
apartment.
a good chef.
She's got the cat watching her when she makes ingredients.
Artemis is my little sous chef. She sits on a bench next to me while I cook. And it's really cute when you cut onions because her eyes start to blink a lot because the onions get into her.
They get to all of us, but especially Artemis, our cat. So
It's very cute. One thing maybe I'll skip because I don't know if you're going to mention it, Adam, in your side slurps. But so just the other last thing that I will mention as I'm all over the place today, people. I'm honestly, little mental health note here, making a list and actually like doing things after work makes you feel a lot better than just like sitting around watching TV and falling asleep. Who would have thought? So I've been like in a really good mood. And I think it's because of all of my to-do lists and all my little crafts and activities. So that's my little mental health note for everyone. But the last thing I'll talk about is the book series I'm reading because I am obsessed. Shout out to my sister for telling me to read it. And it is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. So I'm a fan of her other work like ACOTAR, that series. I believe I've talked about it before on here. And then she has another series too called Crescent City, which I haven't yet started. But I did start Throne of Glass, which is an older series that's been completed that she wrote. And it is so good. Like I've only read the first 2 books so far, but I am obsessed. I was up at like 3 a.m. finishing the book the other day in bed. Adam, I woke him up probably because my Kindle light was on, but I couldn't put it down. It's so good. It is such a good series. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it, but if like fae and young adult fantasy is your thing, I would highly suggest it.
You know, I haven't been in that state of mind personally reading a book for a very long time because I read so much nonfiction books, and that's not me dogging on reading nonfiction either. It's just I like to read a lot of nonfiction books because I've got that state of mind where I always try to be so productive with myself, and I always want to be in the feeling of how can I learn more and how can I train myself to just keep moving forward and up the mountain, so to speak.
You learn
for myself.
things from fiction books.
And you certainly do.
It's all about your imagination.
That too, yes. And with that in mind too, it really makes me think to myself, how can I get myself back into improv acting again and doing musical improv again, because I do miss that. But speaking of things that I have been doing this past week, I have been working on some computer coding and learning computer coding. There was a time a few months ago when I was a lot more proactive about using the application Unity on my computer to try and work on some video games that I was making myself and trying to push myself to learn more about developing in C# and reading books about developing it and learning how to use the coding in C#. So recently I tried to pick that up again, get back into that. And most recently I started coding my own audio player for my website. and designing and developing my own audio player to show people some of the music that I've written and recorded on my website with my own audio player. So I'm still working on that. That's not exactly on my website as of yet, but my plan is to put it on my website, to design and implement my own audio player that I create, and to put that on my website. But you can still go to my website and check out some of the other things that I have created myself and put onto the website so far. And I'm excited for the time that audio player gets up there. Other than that, I am very excited to continue writing original music, to not only implement into that audio player, but to just get out and play in front of a live audience. I'm going to be collaborating with one of my friends this week, and we're going to be writing some fresh new ideas. And it's just a great feeling to be playing with more people than just myself. It's still nice to be by myself, write down some ideas, record some ideas on your own. I get that feeling of being a producer and putting things together on your own. It's a nice feeling in itself. However, I love so much more, I believe, the feeling of sharing those ideas with other people, and the idea of everyone has something different to bring to the table. And it's always fun to watch videos of other musicians out there and see, other famous artists like Nile Rodgers or Steely Dan or things like that, and how they collaborate with various people throughout their career, where it might be Steely Dan working with Michael McDonald or something. If you listen to a lot of their tracks, actually, they have various songs where it is Steely Dan and Michael McDonald's doing backing vocals on their songs. And
on Steely Dan?
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was with Doobies.
Michael McDonald?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they have Michael McDonald in the recordings.
I didn't realize he was on a bunch of Steely Dan.
It's not that he was touring with the band and
he was just doing backing vocals.
Yeah, he's doing backing vocals on the recording tracks.
Maybe that's why I like Steely Dan.
It's not on all of them too. It's
but yeah.
There's just a handful of them where you can hear his voice on the songs, and it's just that concept where collaborating with other people will help you open up your palette, your ideas, the musicianship so much better, I think, rather than just sticking to yourself and only working with your own ideas. So I'm very excited to open the door with other people very soon. And in addition to that, totally different topic, but I have been playing Final Fantasy XIV, the video game, taking me back into the land of nerdism once again. Went from playing World of Warcraft recently to get that feeling of playing a massively multiplayer online game, just like the high school days I was in, to now playing Final Fantasy XIV to see what that is like in comparison to World of Warcraft. And it's got its similarities, it's got its differences. I love the look of Final Fantasy XIV. I even like how you can play it on PlayStation 5. That's why I was playing it in the first place, actually, because you can't play Final Fantasy XIV on a MacBook unless you've got the split. What's the terminology I'm looking for here? Like the split, like Windows and Mac on your MacBook. So.
Split screen?
No, where you can have Windows on a Mac.
Oh. I didn't know you could have
didn't
Windows
even know
on
that.
a Mac. I'm learning so much in tonight's episode. Michael McDonald.
But I don't have that on my MacBook Pro. So I was just eager to try Final Fantasy XIV on my PlayStation. It was great. And taking me back even further, I've actually beaten Mass Effect 1, which I realized was released in 2007, but I didn't play it or beat it until now. So, guys, I'm a little bit late to the game. It's 2022, almost 2023, and I just beat Mass Effect 1. So, I just started Mass Effect 2, and I'm playing through the series with my same character, as you should, and I'm excited. I feel like an old man going back to these old games. I need to boot up the Atari or NES 1 and start playing those games now, like playing Mega Man 1. So we'll see what else I can go through. And that is my side slurps for the past week. And now we're just going to jump into some film news.
Yeah.
That's very recent. Laura, what did you see recently that's going on?
So it's not a film, but it's a TV show, so it's close enough. But I just saw today that Matthew Lucas will be leaving Great British Bake Off, and he won't be a host anymore.
Wow, that's what is with these hosts leaving Great British Bake Off?
I think what it is it's a time commitment, right? Like being there and filming the series, and they probably he wants time to work on other projects. That's what I would assume. So he's been there like 3 seasons. And now he's stepping away. Noel's still there, and so
I know that's the main thing. He's been there the whole time.
I love Noel. Yeah, well, not the whole time. He wasn't there in early seasons.
Okay, so he's like the main squeeze,
but he's been there for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a little sad to see that Matt will be leaving, but I'm interested to see who they'll bring in.
But see, at least Paul Hollywood's not leaving.
Oh, we can't lose Paul.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's the only one that's been there since the beginning.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Hollywood is the real attraction.
Those steely blue eyes, man. Silver fox. Paul, if you're listening, I just bought your bread baking book. Come over and help me make my sourdough
Hey, you're
starter.
supposed to be marrying me next year, not Paul Hollywood.
Well, if Paul shows up, Adam, you're out.
That hurts. It really hurts.
You know I'm joking. I love you. But the other kind of news I just saw, they released some images for this new gothic horror murder mystery, which if you know me, and listeners, hopefully you do by now, it's been like 2 years, right? You know, those 4 words make me very happy. Gothic horror murder mystery. So there's a new new movie coming out on Netflix that has Christian Bale and like Gillian Anderson, I saw was in the cast too. And it's about Edgar Allan Poe. And that's what it's labeled as, gothic horror murder mystery.
Well, yeah, and Edgar Allan Poe's obviously one of the characters, but
I think Christian Bale maybe. Well, maybe
no,
not.
I don't think Christian Bale's
No,
playing
he's
Edgar Allan Poe.
he's probably the detective in the murder mystery, I would say. But I'm excited about it. So coming out on Netflix supposedly this month. I'm looking forward to it. It sounds exactly like something I would like to watch.
I think you and I saw that trailer when we went and saw Glass Onion recently.
Did we?
Yeah, I believe it played right before the Glass Onion
That's
movie.
one of the side slurps I was going to talk about, but I didn't because I thought you would, and that is that we saw Glass Onion, people, and it was great. I don't know if we want to go back and talk about Glass Onion, but it was a good movie.
Well, I think we'll be talking a lot more about that movie very soon, but we all know what we're talking about tonight, so.
Yeah. Well, I just meant for our side slurps. Moving on. What movie news do you have, Adam?
Well, I wanted to start off by saying that the famous actress Kirstie Alley recently passed away. She was 71. She was famous for her role in the show Cheers, as well as films such as Blind Date, Sibling Rivalry, and Drop Dead Gorgeous, just to name a few.
Can I talk about my favorite Kirstie Alley role? And that is in the Mary-Kate and Ashley's version of Parent Trap, which is called It Takes Two. And Kirstie Alley is in that, and so good.
Yeah.
That is like the film of my childhood. Me and my sister watched that movie a lot.
Oh, no. Well, thankfully I didn't. It's
a good movie. What do you mean? Oh, no.
Not for the sake of Kirstie Alley, but
no,
just...
But it's a good movie.
I don't need that Mary-Kate and Ashley nonsense.
How dare you? They made some hits, Adam. Holiday in the Sun, Passport to Paris, Billboard Dad. How can you say I can't marry you? What are you?
Okay, well, in some film news that's not nonsense, let me tell you this.
Rude.
Ang Lee is directing his son Mason as Bruce Lee in a new movie.
That's like a twister of the brain. Gotta piece all that together.
Listen to all the Lee-isms that I had in that sentence. But yes, Ang and Mason have apparently been planning this for the past few years, according to Deadline. And the writer of the film Foxcatcher, who is Dan Futterman, is the latest person to go over the script, and it seems ready to move forward. So, yeah, Dan Futterman has been the one who's been working on the script recently. And according to, I believe, Sony and things like that. Those are the ones who are the big production companies on this. It seems like this is looking to be ready to move forward.
Is Ang Lee the son of Bruce Lee? So is it Bruce Lee's son is directing a movie where his son is playing his father?
Boy, that is something
But that's what I'm saying. It's like a brain twister.
Yeah, the tier of
I would
Lees.
assume Ang Lee then is Bruce Lee's son.
But Ang Lee's just a famous director.
But I would assume he's Bruce Lee's son.
There's relation to Bruce Lee.
You didn't see this, Adam, with the tongue twister?
I know it's a tongue twister, but there's a lot of Lees out there.
Hold on, I'm trying to Google it really quickly. Maybe he's not.
No, I mean, Ang Lee had been watching Bruce Lee movies from what I had read and was just kind of inspired to.
All right, take back all my brain twister. I thought for sure they were related. They're not.
You thought all the Lees were related, didn't you?
I mean, it would make sense if he was making a movie about his dad and his son was playing him. It makes sense to me.
No, I mean, Ang Lee directed...
Sense and Sensibility.
He's done more than that.
I know, but that's what I'm seeing here, Adam. He also did Brokeback Mountain. That's obviously the big one. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah, that's...
Life of Pi.
Yeah, so Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I think moving from that is kind of...
Yeah, which makes sense.
But yeah, so I'm excited to see where that goes. And I believe I also read that Mason is taking a lot of fighting training.
Oh, he's kind of bulk up, get
Yeah.
in the groove.
Lots of fighting training to get into the state as Bruce Lee once was.
Talking about training for a movie, let's move into this week's movie, and I can bring up a fun fact.
I'm excited to hear this. Well, this week's film is weird. I mean, it is weird, but...
The full title, Weird, the Al Yankovic Story.
That is right. The film was directed by Eric Appel, written by Al Yankovic and Eric Appel, produced by Mike Farah, Joe Farrell, Whitney Hodak, and a slew of other people. I just...
Probably everyone at Funny or Die.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people involved in the production. Edited by Jamie Kennedy. Now, can I just stop myself real quick and say...
Jamie
yeah,
Kennedy?
That's the only Jamie Kennedy I can think of. Like,
It can't be. It's just, they must just have the same name.
Yeah.
I don't think Jamie Kennedy
There's only one
is
Jamie
an editor.
Kennedy that I can think
I love Jamie Kennedy, though.
Which, if he's a film editor, too, that would be something.
He's big, not a big change in career, but a change in career. No, it's not the same Jamie Kennedy.
Okay. Glad we got that clarified. Music by Leo Berenberg and Zach Robinson.
How is the music not by Weird Al?
Well, I mean, I think they're talking about the film's soundtrack, like the scoring.
Okay.
But moving forward from there, release date in the United States on Roku was November 4th, 2022. I believe it was released for a film festival about a month beforehand. But the Roku release was November 4th, 2022. And a budget of $8 million. $8 million to do this, which...
That's small.
I do have a fun fact for that. They filmed this entire movie in 18 days.
Which is nuts. I saw that too, and I was going to bring that up. That's a really quick film shoot.
Yeah. Can you imagine 18 days, $8 million for an 18-day film shoot? But... I mean, the cast for this film...
I was say, how much did Dan Rad get paid?
Yeah, the cast for this film is mostly a very A-list casting for this movie.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really... I mean, there are a good amount of supporting actors.
There's a lot of cameos in this movie.
B-list actors that... I don't even know if I'd call it B-list. I mean, there's just a lot of supporting actors where it's just kind of, you know, this person stand here, all these people fill out here.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part... all of the people in this movie are people you recognize from other movies, and some of which kind of the main listings would be Daniel Radcliffe, Evan Rachel Wood, Rainn Wilson, Jack Black makes a...
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel
Conan
Miranda.
O'Brien. Like,
Weird Al Yankovic
tons
is
of
in this movie.
cameos. Yeah, Weird Al. There's a lot of cameos in this movie. And... so, fun fact, how they got all these cameos is literally Weird Al just like went to his contacts on his phone and it was like, who's going to be in LA during this day? Can you come and play a character?
Now that's funny.
And that's pretty much how he got all these people to come and be in the movie. They just showed up for a day, did their scenes and like left.
That's funny.
And that's what happens when you're Weird Al and you got connections.
Yeah. And honestly, that's how you do most anything in the world, even outside of the film industry.
Connections
is
are everything.
connections.
Yeah.
Connections. That's the slice of life statement right there, is make sure you have connections. That's why they always teach you in school, like, to network with people and make those connections.
But going along with casting, before we come away from that really quick, Daniel Radcliffe actually was Weird Al's first choice to play himself. So to play Weird Al. Adam Driver was second choice, which Adam Driver is a good actor and he kind of has that like weird vibe. So I feel like he could have done it. But at the same time, I'm like, no, Dan Rad was like perfect.
I think it's better that it's Daniel Radcliffe because Daniel Radcliffe doesn't entirely sound like Weird Al. And I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah. Well, that's the point too, right? As we start talking about, like, this movie is not factual.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a parody.
It's a parody. It's like a mock you biopic, right?
Yeah.
So I agree. I think Dan Rad was the perfect choice because he's not like Weird Al, right? He's a British. He doesn't have his British accent, but still at the same time. But the fact that I was going to bring up as I like transition into this is that Daniel Radcliffe actually did learn how to play the accordion for this movie, so he would look natural like in the film, and he was taking lessons before they started filming, and then when they were actually on set, like, Weird Al was teaching him. So can you imagine like being taught to play the accordion by Weird Al himself?
Oh my gosh, peer pressure.
Yeah, right. Like,
that's rough.
The amount of pressure on him. But those are my fun facts.
I also very much enjoyed that the music in the movie that was supposed to be Weird Al songs and Weird Al singing, like Weird Al songwriting, was Weird Al's voice when he was singing. And I caught that pretty quickly just because I grew up listening to Weird Al all the time. But
you knew it was him.
I just knew it was his voice when it came out of Daniel Radcliffe's mouth. And it was just funny to hear that, though, because I hear Daniel Radcliffe talking, and then as soon as the vocals come in, I was just taken aback, like, this is Weird Al's music? This is Weird Al singing? I can't believe they actually just dubbed in Weird Al singing.
Another fun fact alert.
Yeah.
So that is one regret that Weird Al and Eric Appel have for this movie, is that they regret that they didn't let Daniel Radcliffe sing. Because the reason why Weird Al wanted Daniel to play him is because he saw him singing in another movie, I believe, or a TV show or something. And after seeing that, he was like, oh, he would be perfect to play me. So they regret that they didn't actually have Daniel Radcliffe sing the songs, because he is a good performer. He could have pulled it off. I think it was probably just because it was such a short production, like 18 days. I think that's probably one of the main reasons why they didn't have him sing, just so that they could, use what they already have and move on. But yeah. Fun fact.
Yeah, I wonder how quickly Weird Al put together the versions of his music for the
it's
film.
Like second nature to him, right? He probably did it all in like
2 seconds.
Yeah, like one recording, and he's like, here we go, we're done.
Yeah.
So it was probably nothing for him.
And then they just play it on set and are like, Daniel... mouth along
but
with this.
I think also the fact that they have Daniel Radcliffe lip syncing like fits with the vibe of this movie too. So as we mentioned, it is a bit of a mockumentary where they're like playing on tropes and the like dumb shit that you see in other like rock artists like biopics. And so, and a lot of like rock artists have had scandals, right? Where they like are caught lip syncing and things like that. So I think having Daniel also lip sync and it not sounding like his speaking voice kind of fits in with that trope as well of like the lip syncing and the controversy that comes around that.
Yeah. It's funny that this is a mockumentary, that it's a parody biopic.
Think of like Walk Hard. I feel like it kind of gives that vibe where it's this like jokey, satirical, but it's like trying to act like it's a real view into someone's life.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because I feel like there's a lot of people that could watch this movie and actually think that this is a true statement on Weird Al's life. And if you don't know that it's supposed to be a parody, then someone that knows nothing about Weird Al might watch this and be thinking, oh my God, I didn't know Weird Al did all this.
It gets to, so I totally agree. Because I even questioned, I was like, wait, did Weird Al and Madonna actually date? You know, like questioning that. But I think when you see the Pablo Escobar bit, which we'll talk about later, you're like, okay, no, this is definitely a hyperbole.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's just funny because Weird Al in real life, though he's weird, he's had such like a subdued and like normal life, right? He has no scandals. He doesn't do drugs. He doesn't drink. He's just like this chill guy who sings funny songs. So the fact that like the movie version of his life that he created is so outlandish just makes it even that much better.
Yeah. I think the way this film starts off with him as a kid wanting to make these jokey songs, that's his beginning into all of this, just trying to have fun as this weirdo. He's acknowledging that he's a little strange, but he just wants to make these parody songs, and his dad being so against it and so vigorously violent about it.
He destroys the accordion.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't want Weird Al, I should just say Al in the beginning, but he doesn't want him to have any fun with weird music at all. He wants him to be a factory worker as a child. It's kind of amazing that that's the beginning of this, because it's crazy how intense it is. His violence is intense. It's actually a good comparison to Walk Hard, because I believe even in that film he had a violent dad.
Yeah. Well, I think that's, again, like Weird Al and Eric Appel, they know these tropes. They know, like, how many rock stars can you think of that had bad childhoods? And that's why, you know, they rebelled and they became rock stars.
Right.
So like, and in real life, so I've looked up and I saw some lists of like what's actually factual in this movie and what's not. So I'll like bring those up as we go along with the plot. But in real life, like Weird Al's parents were very supportive of him, right? And they were like, they had no problem with him wanting to do this and, you know, go out there and be who he was. So it's not true what they put in the movie about his dad being so against it and like so hard on him. But the reason they did that is because that's something that we see in so many of the like childhood histories of other rock stars.
Yeah.
And it just fits the story then of why he like runs away and lives on his own, and, you know, then his career takes off. But in the back, he's always like, oh, my dad will never accept me. You know, that whole idea that like we see time and time again.
Right. Yeah, and as you were saying, his dad in this film destroys the accordion. We don't know why in this movie, of course. He destroys that accordion, but he just can't handle his son having an accordion. Mm-hmm. Very specifically, he's telling Al, like, I told you that you can't have this, son. You can't have it. And he just... It was hard for me to watch that accordion, though. I'm thinking to myself, damn, dude, that nice piece of equipment, that nice accordion just...
Which he got from a traveling salesman. Which, as I bring in my more fun facts, in real life, Weird Al really did get his first accordion from a traveling salesman. So that is one of the factual bits in this movie.
That is very cool. And... hey, I wouldn't mind having an accordion. That is really cool.
I do not want that noise in my house. Yeah, you'd be back here like all the time, and I'd be so pissed.
I'll be one of those people with an accordion and the cymbals and everything just
like Dick Van Dyke in Mary Poppins.
Exactly.
When he's like walking with the drum and it's like
new life goals, everybody.
Be Dick Van Dyke.
So as Weird Al pursues playing the accordion after the first one,
he runs away,
destroyed,
right?
He runs
leaves
away,
home.
And then the next step is getting a band together. Really, so he's hanging out with his friends. They're low key hanging together in this house together and just kind of talking music.
And they they start pushing him to be like, just write some songs. Write a song, man.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just can't do it out of nowhere.
Right.
And then suddenly he does.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think back. What was the first one?
My Bologna.
Yeah. Because they wanted a sandwich.
Listening to they were like, go make us a sandwich.
Yeah,
and obviously My Sharona was playing on the radio.
Yeah.
And then Al starts.
He sees the bologna as he's making the sandwich.
Writing the
like, my bologna.
Yeah.
Which is that was a very popular first Weird Al song too.
Yeah, I think I saw it wasn't his first single, but it was an early one.
Yes.
So it that's kind of somewhat factual. And
Yeah.
also, so after he's writing that while making them the sandwiches, they go to a bathroom at like a train station to record the song that they then send that demo out to radio stations, which becomes his first big hit. And in real life, that song was recorded in a bathroom.
Now that's funny.
Not in a train station
but
bathroom.
I mean, that's
but
very.
It really was filmed in the bathroom.
That's interesting.
And yeah, and the song gets played on the radio, and that's kind of where we start to see his career take off in this movie.
Listen, I'm a fan of people recording wherever they want,
well, the
however they want to do it.
in a bathroom, right? Because of the like it's got to be really.
Oh yeah, like tile walls
tile
and things like that. You would get very interesting reverberation in that kind of bathroom, I would think.
My Bologna.
My Bologna. I mean, I recorded my band in the interior of my parents' barn, so yeah, put up some drum mics and things like that.
Interesting spaces.
Hey, it comes out nice wherever you can record. It's not always just a bedroom. Go where you need to go.
Well, and after he gets on the radio, right? He's trying to get a record deal, and he goes to this studio, and it's Weird Al himself playing this like exec, right? Who's like, you just need more experience. We can't sign you yet.
That executive is Weird Al.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's Weird Al. And Will Forte, right?
Yes. He's like the assistant.
Yeah, and also Will Forte is a great actor. But I didn't even recognize Weird Al, though, because he has like this very businessman-y haircut, and he's like in a suit. And it wasn't until I was looking for a bit and being like, who is that? Yeah, and then I realized like, oh, yeah. It's Weird Al himself.
Yeah, I love the fact that the producer is Weird Al, which again, it just hits irony right on the head that Daniel Radcliffe is saying he's Weird Al and he wants a record deal, and the one who is preventing him from getting that record deal is Weird Al himself.
Yeah. Well, he's not, I mean, he is preventing him, but he does tell him like, go out and get some experience. Get some more songs, and then we can talk.
Yeah.
So he goes and plays at this biker bar.
Yeah.
But he's a hit. And that's when Rainn Wilson's character comes into play, right?
Yes.
Dr. Demento. Which is a real person.
Dr. Demento.
Yeah, it was a real person in Weird Al's life who was like a mentor for him.
That's also pretty great. And I mean, I think that his kind of play in this movie and advisory for Weird Al's character was a great thing to watch as well. There were some very interesting lines between Dr. Demento and Weird Al, and it wasn't too long after the introduction of Dr. Demento's character that we see Madonna kind of jump into this. Mm-hmm. Not Madonna herself, unfortunately, but Madonna, the character in this movie.
But even before Madonna comes in, we have that scene at the pool party at Dr. Demento's where we get all the cameos.
Yeah.
Like, so many cameos. I made a list of some of the people that were at the party, right? And we see like Devo, Frank Zappa, Salvador Dali, Andy Warhol, Tiny Tim, Pee Wee Herman, Gallagher, Wolfman Jack, Elton John, Alice Cooper. Like there's just, and they're all played by like famous people. Like Conan O'Brien was, I don't even remember which one he played now. He was one of them, right? And like Jack Black was Wolfman Jack. Yeah. And so one of the fun facts I have is that, so they originally wanted Freddie Mercury to be one of the people at the party, but the Queen estate said no, they wouldn't allow him to be there. So that's why instead we have John Deacon at the party, another member of Queen. And it actually worked out better because Deacon is the one that wrote Another One Bites the Dust, I believe, which is this parody that then Weird Al sings at that party. Another One Rides the Bus. So it kind of makes more sense that it was Deacon there, like instead of Freddie Mercury.
Yeah.
But yeah, they really wanted Freddie Mercury, but the estate was like, absolutely not.
That is funny. Yeah, and it's just very interesting to see how this all comes together. And there's the whole feud at the party where Jack Black as Wolfman Jack is saying, if you're so good, then write a song right now.
Do a song right now.
Do a song. And it's like, man, you don't have to do this. Don't worry about it. Like, don't worry about what he says. And then he's like, oh, I'll do one. Give me that accordion. And then he ends up doing a song right there in front of everyone at the party.
Another One Rides the Bus.
Yeah. another popular
Yeah.
Weird Al song.
And then from there, Al gets his record contract and he becomes this huge thing, right? Like he goes on Oprah, has a bunch of reviews there. And then they bring in this idea of the Yankovic bump, which essentially means anytime he parodies another artist's song, that artist's sales like skyrocket. And that was actually a real thing. Like there really is a Yankovic bump in real life. I was reading some article that was talking about after certain songs, the artist would see like a huge rise in the sales of that record. So, like after he came out with another one, Rides the Bus, like Queen saw a rise in their own music sales. So the bump, which is talked about in the movie, is a real phenomenon that we see in real life.
What about Chameleonaire and Riding Dirty?
Yeah. See? Wasn't weren't you and I watching something before where he was saying he was mad when like Weird Al parodied that song, but now he's okay with it?
That would make sense.
Am I making that up? I feel like it was, though. We saw that somewhere.
I feel like he would be upset that Weird Al would make White and Nerdy, and then he's only going to make money from that because Weird Al doing White and Nerdy and everyone getting excited like, oh yeah, I'm White and Nerdy, ha ha ha. And then at the same time, everyone's going to fall back to Chameleonaire's version and be like, yeah, Riding Dirty.
Yeah. But as part of that Yankovic bump, this is when Madonna's character comes in, right? Because she wants that. She wants that bump. So she's trying to convince Al to do a parody of Like a Virgin. But at this point, Al has decided he doesn't want to do parodies anymore, right? He's like, no, I only want to write original music. And
again, a very funny play.
He goes on that like
career.
LSD trip, right? And he writes "Eat It," which is funny because the whole movie is like saying "Eat It" is an original song when obviously it's a parody of "Beat It."
Exactly.
But like the movie is, he's like, it was original, and Michael Jackson's like parodying me.
And he did. And also, he did do a parody of a Madonna song.
Yeah, so. Yeah. He did do Like a Virgin, which we see in the movie. We see the Like a Surgeon. But essentially, Madonna starts dating Weird Al in the movie because she's trying to convince him to do this parody. But he's like, no, I don't want to. Yeah. But she stays with him because I think she's just trying to convince him to do it, right? And he's like, no. But then eventually, he does decide to do the parody of Like a Surgeon.
Yeah.
And he has that like whole breakdown at that concert.
Yeah. Well, he was on drugs or whatever at that concert. So
I think he was very drunk, essentially. Yeah. And then, he did Like a Surgeon. And then I think what it was Eat It was like the next song that he was supposed to play. But then he goes pissed because he's like, well, now, everyone thinks it's a parody of Beat It. And he just like threw a temper tantrum and got arrested. Mm-hmm. No, he got in a car crash and like almost died. Right? That's when the car crash happens. Or maybe not. I'm mixing up the plot lines, I think. But anyways, I think he's arrested after the concert.
Yeah, well, he's like screaming in the microphone and causing all kinds of problems. So the cops come out on stage and grab him. Yeah,
that's right. And then this is when the movie takes a really big turn. And this is when like, if you were questioning before if any of this was true, at this point, you're like, this cannot be true. Because this is when Pablo Escobar comes into play.
Yeah. And I mean, Pablo Escobar is taking Madonna, and he takes Madonna to his, drug cartel compound. Yeah. So Weird Al is trying to figure out how can I go save Madonna from the drug cartel of Pablo Escobar and get this all figured out. And as we watch the movie, we see Weird Al going through basically like a combat scenario.
Yeah, he goes through like this rampage and just like cuts his way through this cartel.
Yeah, and he's taking out the drug cartel. So, if you, as Laura said, if you had your doubts or wonders if this is a true story,
at this point,
just know that Weird Al, unfortunately, is not combat militia trained.
He did not kill
taking out the drug cartel and taking out Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, so like Escobar kidnapped Madonna because he really wants Weird Al to play at his birthday party. He's like obsessed with Weird Al, and we've kind of seen this like bits of Escobar liking Weird Al throughout the movie, and so I was reading an article, and Eric Appel was saying that they wrote in those earlier bits about Pablo Escobar because they were afraid that the first thing that would be cut by the studio would be this Colombia scene, and they did not want it to be cut. So they like intermixed Pablo Escobar into earlier in the film, so they couldn't cut this scene because it wouldn't make sense.
Oh my gosh.
But essentially, yeah, Weird Al goes down there, goes on his rampage, and they kill Pablo Escobar. And Madonna stays and takes over.
That's what surprised me. I thought, okay, he's going to save Madonna. All is going to be well in the world. And then Madonna's reaction is, now you and I can run the drug cartel.
We can be the drug cartel. I really want to know what Madonna feels about this movie. I was looking up and she hasn't made a statement. Like, she hasn't said anything about it.
What does that say about it?
But that's what I feel like she would take it with, like, you know, good stride. Like, I feel like she'd be like, this is funny. It's obviously like a parody. It's not gonna have any effect on my career. Like, I obviously am not this person.
Yeah, it's just a joke.
But I love it. And if Evan Rachel Wood as Madonna is so good. She's a great actress, but she plays Madonna really well. Really well.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a joke. And so with that being said about Weird Al and Madonna and the drug cartel there at the end, Weird Al obviously does not want to be a part of Madonna and the drug cartel, and he gets out of that. He leaves Madonna with Pablo Escobar's drug cartel in the end after he takes out Pablo Escobar, and he goes back to having a normal life. And upon doing so, he also learns from his dad that his dad explains why he did not want Weird Al to play the accordion, and it's because his dad had jealousy issues because when he was a child, his own family would not let him do any of that.
Well, because he was Amish.
Because he was Amish.
And because he was, you know, doing these non-Amish things.
Exactly.
He was excommunicated and sent away. So he didn't want that same thing for his son.
Yeah.
But in the end, he like finally admits that, you know, he's very proud of Al and what he's done. And, you know, it was just his own life that was kind of holding him back. And then from there, we get the Amish Paradise song.
And then from there, doesn't Weird Al...
He gets assassinated.
Yeah, he gets assassinated by Madonna.
By Madonna.
Yeah.
Yes. So he's at like an award show, right?
Yeah.
And he gets assassinated by Madonna's like henchman or whoever.
Yeah.
And then at the very, very end, we see his like gravestone and Madonna shows up to like lay flowers and Weird Al's hand like reaches up out of the ground and grabs her. And that's the end.
Yep.
So it's just the whole thing.
Clearly a true story.
It's a true. Every single thing in this movie was true.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if I went through all of my fun facts and real facts. I think so. I think I did.
Well, one of the interesting facts that I saw about this movie was that Weird Al's reasoning for not having this film release in theaters and why I should say he had it go straight to streaming with Roku. And the reasoning that I found online in the words of Weird Al actually was that he said, quote, "This is actually the reason why I wanted to sell it to a streaming platform in the first place. You don't know how well it does. And I was a little gun shy after UHF came out in 1989. That's my first movie. I spaced my movies 33 years apart. But my first movie did not do well at the box office. I decided if I put out another movie, it would be nice to not bomb and not even have a chance of bombing because nobody knows the numbers on the streaming services. But it's getting great reviews and people seem to like it."
Interesting.
Which makes sense because UHF... You know,
I didn't even know he had
well.
another movie. What is that one?
Oh yeah, UHF is basically the Weird Al version of Kentucky Fried Movie.
Oh, we'll have to watch it. Maybe I've never seen it. Maybe we'll watch it later tonight. I just have one other fact as I'm looking through my notes, and that was just around like how this movie got made. And essentially, there was a fake trailer that was made in 2010 by Funny or Die and written by Eric Appel. And it was like a satirical biographical film essentially of this movie. So about Weird Al's life and it being like nonsense and crazy. And that fake trailer obviously being part of Funny or Die was played a lot, and Weird Al would actually show the trailer at his own concerts. So he would like play it during his concerts,
Oh.
which led fans to be like, so when is this movie coming out? Like,
Oh my gosh.
like, when are we getting this? And because of that, and he was just getting like so many questions about this, they decided like, why not? Let's make a full-length film. And he got Apple back to write it with him, and yeah, did the whole concept together. So all based on a satirical trailer from 2010.
Yeah. I mean, if I was constantly showing a film trailer at shows and things like that, I assume that I would be getting asked the same question and things like that.
Like,
and
where is it?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I would feel the implication like I've got to finish this. I got to make this into something.
Right.
I honestly, when I was younger, and I always think about this day, I had the Weird Al film Running with Scissors, and I remember the track listing on there, the Weird Al show theme. And even knowing that it was called the Weird Al show theme, I didn't even know there was a Weird Al show when I was younger. And then when I saw him live, when I had that album, they played the Weird Al show theme and they showed the Weird Al show theme to the show. But even with that knowledge in my head, because I was young, I still didn't realize there was an actual Weird Al show. I just thought that seeing that theme graphic playing that he used to open his live concert, I just thought like, oh, this must just be something for the concert.
Mhm.
Like, I just thought it was just graphics for that concert experience. And I just thought they were playing the song for the concert. Now, as a much more knowledgeable adult, I realize
He
Weird
has
Al
an
had his
actual
own television show,
show.
and that theme song was for the television show. But, you know, it does get you wondering, seeing things like that. You're kind of like, man, it starts with a TV show. Can it go into a movie? Or from the movie, are you going to make a sequel? You know, those kinds of things. Where does it keep going? But we do know that, you know, Weird Al had a television show. He did make UHF, which was a film. And I believe that was all well before. UHF was before the TV show, I do believe. And so, you know, he did UHF in, I believe, the 80s or the late 80s. And then the TV show was in the 90s. And then now we've got the Weird Al Yankovic Story in 2022. So
A big gap.
yeah.
He's had a good career, though. He's been doing stuff, so.
But yeah, looking into some of the reviews for Weird the Al Yankovic Story.
I mean, based on the reviews, he should have went to theaters because
He's doing really
he
good.
could have got nominated.
He's doing very good. Looking at Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter from the critics giving it an 84%, and the audience giving it an 83%. A very balanced ratio there.
That is a balanced ratio. I'm kind of surprised. Usually I feel like they don't even out.
And I believe the Roger Ebert review for this film was 3.5.
Which is good.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I mean, one of the quotes that I saw was just saying, like, this movie is as relentlessly ridiculous as Weird Al's music. And that's why it's good, right? It's just...
It's what you want.
Yeah, it's what you expect from Weird Al. You expect something funky.
I mean, if
Something
you
funny.
are going into a horror movie, you want that relentless
You want
horror. Good horror. And if you're going into an action film, you want relentless and good action. Or from like a comedy film, you want that good, relentless comedy. You know, I say the word relentless many times here, but it's just, that's what you want. You want that feeling, that sense of, you know, urgency, so to speak, but that's just gonna hit you just in the right spot. And I think with Weird Al, when you watch this movie, you want that feeling that you expect from Weird Al, and I think you get that.
The same feeling you get listening to his music is what you get watching this movie. Absolutely.
Right. So, Laura, I think that brings us into our side slurps for this film.
I think I know what we're both gonna say.
Slurps up, meaning we recommend the movie, we think you should go check it out, and we would be giving that a slurps up, and slurps down, meaning that we think it's a waste of time, or we think that you should not watch it, and we think that Weird Al did something wrong. So Laura, slurps up or slurps down?
No, absolutely a slurps up. I think the casting is great. Daniel Radcliffe is so good in this movie. So is Evan Rachel Wood. They both play their roles so well. And the writing is funny. It, like we said, it's exactly what you would want out of Weird Al. It's just so ridiculous. It's got good laughs, good line, and you get to listen to his music, which is so enjoyable. Like, who doesn't love listening to Weird Al music? So I have no bad things to say about this movie. Honestly, I'm surprised it's so good for only being filmed in 18 days. And I think that says something about the writing, and it also says something about the acting.
And for me, I 100% concur with Laura. I'm going to give this one a slurps up because I think the casting in this film is fantastic. I think Daniel Radcliffe is giving us Weird Al on a silver plate in the just greatest way possible. As I said before, I grew up with Weird Al being a huge inspiration and motivation to me, artistically speaking, and I'm just so happy to be able to see what, might be at first glance. You might think that this is some kind of waste of time humor movie that you just can look past and be okay. But I'm just going to say, don't try and look past this movie and think that it's a waste of time, because I believe that this movie is so much more than that. It is hilarious. Get a group of friends or watch it by yourself because it is hysterical. And I think because this movie is a parody of Weird Al's own life with Weird Al in it, it is hysterical. So slurps up for me for sure. And with all of that being said, that wraps it up for this episode of Screen Slurps. Be sure to follow us on social media at Screen Slurps on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. And be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Ghana, or any other podcast streaming service out there. And if you enjoy what you hear, slide on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating. It will help us a lot. And if there's any crazy movies that you want to hear about, let us know. Leave a comment on one of our social media pages, and trust me when I say we will be sure to talk about it. So, closing out, I'm Adam Meisner.
And I'm Laura Herlacher.
Slurps up, and we will catch you later.